Hi, my name is Brice, and I did my book report on David Ogilvy. He simply titled it an autobiography. He wrote it when he was about 85 years old, and he split it up into like 5 individual parts. The first being like his childhood and his early education, followed by some of his some of his jobs when he was younger. Then he talks about his time in the Secret Service, and then he talks about some of his jobs later on where he created his own business, and then he talks about like his leisure time, what he's done after retirement. So, he was born in 1911, just outside of London, England, and he was kind of born into a wealthier family, although they were struggling. Sort of when the Depression hit, they, had to start getting rid of their butlers and their maids and their housekeepers and all that. So he kind of had a richer childhood than he did like into his teen years, into his once he started school. So he barely made it into like these boarding schools. Either his father knew someone or he got a scholarship, but he barely made it into these schools, which he really didn't enjoy. He kind of struggled with school. He wasn't dumb by any means. His instructors could tell that he was a very intelligent child. He just didn't see the need to like apply himself. He didn't like the idea of school. He didn't like how it was taught, and was also bullied both by students, and like some of the teachers would kind of see him as like, oh, you barely got into this school because your father knew someone. Like we're not going to treat you with the same respect as these other people who, like, he went to school with people who were like Duke of Yorkshire. Like they all had some label to their name of who they were, where they came from, and Ogilvy didn't really have that. So after like his after high school, he went to, or after one of his boarding schools, he went to Oxford University, only for 2 years, because again, he didn't really like the system, the education system. He didn't really see what he should have been studying, or what he didn't really have an idea of what he wanted to do with his life. One thing that I kind of like, 40 years down the road after graduation, they invited Ogilvy back for sort of like a commencement / graduation speech, where he just totally tore the school apart, as far as its educational foundation and all that. Like he said, the way school is taught today, the way that instructors shove facts, pointless facts, down kids' throats just so they can regurgitate them on the next exam, is equivalent to how they shove corn down the throat of a goose to make to enlarge their livers for more foie gras. And yeah, he kind of changed how the whole school was ran when he made this speech, and they listened to him and made a lot of changes because of him, because of how well respected he was in his industry. But so he goes to Oxford for 2 years, doesn't like it, drops out, and becomes an apprentice chef at the Hotel Majestic in Paris, where he was in a really strict kitchen. And he was, of course, the one who was most recently hired, so he was stuck with all the jobs that no one wanted to do. He actually started by cooking for the dogs of some of the hotel guests, and then worked his way up to cooking for some French royalty who they had to, their food was highly specialized, and his chef wanted him to like remove the bones out of frog legs without puncturing the skin, or removing the bones from like a roasted duck without wrecking the skin on it or anything. So it was very challenging, intricate tasks that he always managed to pull off. So he earned the respect of his chef, but still didn't like the wages he was making, didn't really like the whole food and beverage thing, so he left. He left to go to sell ovens door to door. It was AGA ovens, AGA, like ovens and stoves. So he went to sell them to like churches and schools and all that, and he became incredibly good at it. He could sell to anyone. He actually wrote in like an instructional manual on how to sell these ovens to people and published it for the company. And later on, it was recognized by Forbes as one of the best written sales manuals to date. So again, he did that for a while, taught him how to sell, and he kind of left that. So he goes to New York and Hollywood for to get into like the movie industry. He basically predicted what movies would sell and what ones wouldn't. He created this system for how to figure out what people wanted to see next, and he was always correct, which is what made him so successful at this. He would go into a room of directors or like a board of directors, and they'd all be saying, "Oh, we need, this actress needs to be doing this plot, and it's going to sell. Everyone's going to want to go see it." And he would come in and say, "No, like we have to do this actor and this plot. Like no one's going to want to see those other ones. They're going to die." And the ones that he recommended were always super successful. So his system is still used today to figure out like why people go out to movies or what people are looking to see. But after that, he gets out of the whole movie thing and he goes into the Secret Service, because this is around the time of World War II, and he works with like Winston Churchill and all these officers in Great Britain on how to spy upon the Germans and decode messages. And he even references how he was put through like basic training, and he was taught like if a police dog attacks you, you can like split open its chest by like pulling its front arms apart, and like so he was taught how to be, just like the front line of the military. But most of what he did was like message decoding and more of like mental warfare, like tricking people, whatever. And he was incredibly remarked for that. He was super successful at it, but again, it wasn't his calling card. It wasn't what he wanted to do. So he goes back to America, and for I think 3 years lives on like this rural monastery outside of Philadelphia, where it was all Amish people living. He lives among the Amish, learns their cultures, a lot of neat little quirks about the Amish that I had never known. And with that, he farms tobacco with them, which is incredibly strenuous if you're not using any type of machinery. And like he respected what they were doing, but eventually he's like, this isn't for me. The money's not here, because the tobacco industry would monopolize against these Amish and give them just the worst prices, and kind of screw them out of all the work they've done. So he gets out of farming and he goes to like create his own business, which is Ogilvy and Mather, and it's this huge advertising agency, which he knows how to sell. He knows how to make ads. He knows how to market, and he does ads for huge companies like Kleenex and Rolls-Royce, and he gets these emerging companies off their feet and into the industry, and just skyrockets them into success. And it was his advertisements were incomparable to other people. He just set the whole industry on its top. He has it figured out. One thing that I kind of liked is he explained that most of the ideas that came to him, he said, when he was on the telephone line with his subconscious, meaning that when he was sleeping, when he was in the shower, when he was on the toilet, like he got these ideas, just these advertising and marketing ideas, when he was just doing his own thing, when he was just in touch with himself, when he knew, it just kind of came to him. So whatever, he makes this huge company, makes millions, billions of dollars, sells it off, splits it up. He's got departments all over the world in different countries, and incredibly successful. Money's really not an issue anymore. So he's got his wife. He retires to Tofu or Tofau in France, and has this big estate, and learns about the state and the cultures that are around it, and occasionally travels to like Germany and India via trains and such to make sure departments of his business are running smoothly. But for the most part, he's just retired. And then he goes on to talk about the things he loves. He says he loves to garden. He loves to He loves poetry, just simple life. He kind of bounces back in between this hugely successful, strenuous business person to this in touch with nature, culturally sensitive, just relaxed human. And I really enjoyed the book. I read it over spring break, and I thought it was great. Honestly, it wasn't something like it was a chore to go back and read it. It was like I was going back to pick it back up because his stories are incredibly interesting and good. It was a really good read. Thank you.